the Keynesian view of aggregate demand. Actually, Keynesians analyze aggregate demand in terms of its four component parts. Number one, consumer spending. Number second, planned investment spending. Number third, government spending. And final factor or component is known as net exports. We can say that YD is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX. So we can say that Keynesians analyze aggregate demand in terms of its four components. Number one, consumer expenditures, which is denoted by C. Actually, consumer expenditures refers the total demand for consumer goods and services. Number second, planned investment spending is denoted by I. It refers the total planned spending by business firms on new machines, factories, and other inputs to production, plus planned spending on new homes. Similarly, the government spending or the government expenditure is denoted by the symbol G, and it represents spending by all levels of government, for example, federal government, state government, or the local government on goods and services. For example, paper clips, computers, computer programming, missiles, spending on government workers, etc. And finally, the net exports is denoted by the symbol NX. And actually, the net exports represent the net foreign spending on domestic goods and services. And you know that NX is equal to X minus M, exports minus imports. We can represent the relationship as given in this equation: YAD is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX. Okay, this is the Keynesian view of aggregate demand. The question is how we can derive the aggregate demand curve from the Keynesian's view. As you know that Keynesian analysis suggests that the aggregate demand curve is downward sloping. Suppose the value of M is constant, and if we increase the price level, what will be the result? It means that P divided by M will increase. This value will increase. If we decrease the value of P, it means that if the price level in an economy decreases by keeping the value of M constant, what is the result? Very simply, M by P will increase. So we can say that a lower price level holding the nominal quantity of money constant lead to a larger quantity of money in the real terms. Simply, we can say that if M is fixed and P decreases, it means an increase will occur in the real quantity of money or the real money balances. So we can say that the quantity of money in the real terms will be higher. So the larger quantity of money in real terms that result from a lower price level causes interest rate to fall because M is constant and we are decreasing the price level. If P decreases, it means M over P increases. If M over P increases, it means I decreases, a lower interest rate. If the interest rate is low, it means we have the higher planned investment spending. I will increase. Why? Because there is a negative relationship between the interest rate and investment spending. So the resulting lower cost of financing purchases of new physical capital make investment more profitable and stimulate the planned investment spending. So it means I will rise. Now, if interest rate is lower, in the result, the investment plan spending will be higher. What about NX? The NX value will also higher. Why? As you know that we have discussed when we were deriving the IS curve. If I decreases, it means NX increases. Now, if I is increasing and if NX is also increasing, what we can conclude? So simply we can say that YAD will increase because the increase in planned investment spending adds directly to aggregate demand. That's why we can say that YAD will rise. So simply we can say that the lower price level leads to a higher level of aggregate demand. This is the mechanism. If P decreases, M over P will rise and this will reduce the interest level. If the interest level decreases, it means planned investment spending and net exports will rise. And finally, they will add more to the quantity. So simply we can say that YAD will rise. If YAD is rising, it means Y is rising. So what you can conclude from this mechanism? So simply we can conclude that the lower price level leads to a higher level of aggregate demand. Very simple. So this is the conclusion from the first mechanism that the lower price level leads to a higher level of aggregate demand. Now we can draw the same conclusion by using the second mechanism. For example, another mechanism is that generates a downward sloping aggregate demand curve operates to international trade. For example, a lower price level P leads to a larger quantity of money in real balance. If P decreases, it means M over P increases and lower interest rates, so I will decrease. Now, think about this point. If P decreases, M over P increases, which will lead to a lower interest rate. Now, suppose if we have a lower interest rate, think in the direction of the international trade, how it will affect the US performance, or simply how it will affect the US exports and imports, or in other words, how a decrease in the interest rate will affect the net exports of the United States. So very simply, we can say that the US dollar bank deposits become less attractive relative to deposits denominated in foreign currency. So what we can conclude? So simply we can say that there is a cause causing a fall in the value of dollar deposits relative to the other currency deposits. It means that a devaluation of the US dollar, or simply we can say that a decline in the exchange rate. And we are denoting exchange rate by the symbol E. It means E will decrease. So the lower value of the dollar which make domestic goods cheaper. Why? Because prices are lower in the United States. If prices are low in the United States, so we can say that the product prices of the United States are cheaper because of the lower value of the dollar. So the lower value of the dollar which make domestic goods cheaper relative to foreign goods, it will causes the net exports to rise. Why? Because you know that the dollar value is lower or the dollar value is depreciated in relation with the foreign currency. It means a decline in the exchange rate. So the lower value of dollar will attract the foreign demand because now the domestic goods of the United States are cheaper relative to foreign goods. So what will happen? Very simply, the net exports of the United States will rise. Why? Because foreigners are thinking that we can get cheap goods from the United States. It means that the net exports of the United States will rise. And what will be the result? Finally, the aggregate demand will increase.